Thank you so very much for coming tonight to the Year 8 presentation of Learning for What is Power. They've worked extremely hard on this. It's not an easy thing for people in Year 8 to perform Macbeth, so I know you'll appreciate it. I really do. Everyone that's seen them rehearsing really appreciates it as well. I don't really have anything more to say. I'm sure you will be impressed, and I will let our first narrators lead you through what I hope will be a really interesting evening.
Hello and welcome to our presentation of learning. Throughout this term we have looked at the play Macbeth and how the different characters show how power changes throughout the play. The theme of magic and the supernatural also features throughout Macbeth, from the witches who are supernatural beings who give prophecies that tell Macbeth's future to the ghost of Banquo.
Our understanding of power in science began with learning about the fundamental laws of motion that govern our universe, famously documented by Sir Isaac Newton in his scientific book, The Principia. We used our language skills to unpick some of Newton's laws from their original Latin and learned about the dramatic history of development of Newton's work.
We started with Newton's first law. An object at rest will remain at rest unless acted on by a net force, and an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted on by a net force. This describes the tendency of objects to remain in their current state, either still or moving at a constant speed, unless forces become unbalanced. We considered how objects' motion would be different on the moon, where the pull of gravity is weaker and forces like air resistance are non-existent, and looked at footage of astronauts on the moon testing ideas of famous thinkers like Galileo.
Newton's second law of motion describes how an object's acceleration is dependent upon its mass and the force with it's pushed or pulled. When a can is heated with a small amount of water inside, the water turns to steam, increasing the number of collisions between the particles and the inside the walls of the can. When the can is suddenly placed in cold water, the steam rapidly condenses, creating a low pressure area inside. Newton's second law of motion also helps us understand that large objects need large forces to move. A tectonic plate with a mass of 35 sextillion kilograms, that's 35 followed by 21 zeros, will need an enormous force to get it moving or to change its speed. The forces at the plate boundaries are incredibly powerful. Equally as powerful, and something else we have studied this term, is the struggle for power depicted in the Shakespearean Scottish play, which we will look to now.
The great armies of Scotland and Norway were ready on the battlefield. The wind whistled across the empty space between them. It was bitterly cold. Nothing was their frozen, gripping their weapons, waiting. Their breath clouds that condensed in the air. They listened. A moment of dreadful silence fell as they held their breath. Every muscle tense, ready, waiting for the battle cry. Then King Duncan of Scotland let out a great roar on.
Valiant cousin.
Worthy Fane.
Fearless kinsman.
Great Val.
Brave Macbeth.
As the smoke of battle cleared, the exhausted soldiers slowly started to be aware of what was happening around them. Across the battlefield, they saw the injured and dying, friends and enemies alike, bleeding onto the cold earth. They felt the icy wind blow through them as they took in the scene. They could see, hear, smell, and feel the aftermath of battle. For brave Macbeth, well he deserves that name, disdaining fortune with his brandished steel, which spoke with bloody execution. Like Valor's minion, carved out his passage, till he faced the slave, till he unseamed him from the nape to the chops, and fixed his head upon our battlements.
Scotland victoriously defeated Norway in a great battle. King Duncan received 3 significant reports about the heroism of Macbeth. King Duncan's first report was the rebel of Macdon at the hands of brave Macbeth. The second was the defeat of the Norwegians, and the third was the betrayal of trust and the Thane of Cawdor. Finally, King Duncan ordered for the Thane of Cawdor's execution and arranged for his title to pass to Macbeth. In this scene, Macbeth and Banquo encountered 3 witches that look not like the inhabitants of the earth. These wild and unkempt creatures are to be viewed with caution. The witches hail Macbeth as Thane of Glaunce and then Thane of Cawdor. Macbeth is baffled by the second title, as he has not yet heard of King Duncan's decision to execute the Thane of Cawdor. The witches also declare that Macbeth will be king one day, leaving Macbeth to wonder whether the region will simply fall into his hands, or whether he will have to perform a dark deed in order to gain the crown.
Where hast thou been, sister?
Sister, where thou? A drum, Macbeth doth come. Thrice to find and thrice to mine and thrice again to make up 9. Peace the charms wound up.
So foul and fair, a day I have not seen.
What are these that look not like inhabitants of the earth and yet are armed?
Speak if you can. What are you?
O hail Macbeth, hail to the Thane of Glaunce.
All hail Macbeth, hail to Thane of Cawdor.
All hail Macbeth, what shall be king hereafter?
Speak then to me, you neither beg nor fear, your favours nor your hate.
Lesser than Macbeth and greater.
Not so happy, yet much happier.
Thou shalt be kings, thou shalt get none.
Banquo Macbeth, all hail.
Your children shall be kings.
You shall be king. Then he happily received Macbeth the news of success and gives the greater honour. The Thane of Cawdor is a traitor who has confessed to treason against Scotland. The king gives us titles and lands to you, Macbeth. Hail the Thane of Glaunce and the Thane of Cawdor. When King Duncan received the news that the Thane of Cawdor had been executed, he thanked Macbeth and Banquo. Macbeth is then astonished that the king has announced Malcolm
is to be named heir to the throne. Macbeth displays fake delight, but notes to himself that Malcolm now stands between him and the crown. Plans are made for King Duncan to dine at Macbeth's castle that evening. In this scene, Lady Macbeth reads a letter from her husband about his encounter with the witches. She fears her husband is too full of the milk of human kindness to achieve the throne. She wants him to come home quickly so she can pour her words of ambition into his ears. She is interrupted by the news that the king has come to the castle that evening, and that Macbeth is already on his way. She celebrates the fatal entrance of King Duncan into their home. She calls on the spirits to unsex her and make her capable of murder. Macbeth arrives home and Lady Macbeth immediately plants seeds and murderous intentions. She advises him to hide their plans with innocence, but be a serpent underneath.
Glamis thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature, it is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great, art not without ambition. What thou wast highly, thou wast holily, wouldst not play false, and yet wouldst wrongly win. Hie thee hither, that I may pour my spirits in thine ear, and chastise with the valour of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round. The raven himself is hoarse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits, and fill me from the crown to the toe-top full of direst cruelty.
King Duncan and the Thanes arrive at Macbeth's castle. King Duncan is delighted to see the honoured hostess, Lady Macbeth, and she welcomes him into their home. Macbeth weighs up his malicious thoughts about killing King Duncan and decides it. He struggles with his conscience and decides not to go through with it. Macbeth's fatal flaw of ambition is what's pushing him onwards. In this scene, Lady Macbeth tells Macbeth off for leaving the hall. When Macbeth tells her that he has decided against killing King Duncan, she is furious, calling him a coward and a beast. The taunting of her husband's weakness, coupled with the efficiency of her own plan, she convinces Macbeth that he should take on the horrid deed.
He is almost sucked. Why have you left the chamber?
Hath he asked me?
Know you not he has?
We will proceed no further in this business. He hath wanted me of late, and I have brought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which will be worn now and then newest gloss, and not cast aside so soon.
Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Had it slept since, and wakes it now to look so green and pale at what it did so freely? From this time such I count thy love. Art thou afeard to be the same in thine own act and valour as thou art in desire?
Privy peace, I dare all who may become man who dares more none.
What beast was then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man, and to be more than what you were, you be so much more a man. I've given suck, and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my knuckle from its boneless gums and dashed the brains out, had I so sworn as you have done to this.
And if we should fail?
We fail? But screw your courage to the sticking place, and you lost them.
Newton's third law tells us that every action or force in nature has an equal and opposite reaction. For example, when you push the oars of a rowboat against the water exerts an equal force on the boat, causing it to move forward. Again, understanding Newton's rules help us to explain many powerful phenomena from the world around us. Newton's laws also help us reach an understanding of the scientific meaning of power, which Harry will explain.
In science, power is equal to the energy transferred to an object divided by the time taken for this to occur. Power is expressed in units known as watts. Energy can be expressed in units called joules. Put simply, power is the rate at which energy is being transferred If a large quantity of energy is being transferred very quickly, then the power is great. If a small quantity of energy is being transferred very slowly, the power is low.
Therefore, power in science has a very specific definition. Power is a quantity, a number which expresses the rate of energy transfer. Understanding how forces like mass, weight and gravity interact with the energy required to move objects allows us to understand the mechanics of many machines and objects we use every day.
We would like to discuss other ways in which imbalance can lead to change. The Peasants' Revolt occurred in 1381 during the reign of King Richard II and is sometimes referred to as Wat Tyler's Rebellion. We have studied several causes of this first major popular uprising in English history to understand how it was connected to power and change within societal systems. In the years looking up to the revolt, the poorest people in Britain, those who are legally bound to work the land and known as peasants, had already endured significant injustice and hardship. These included the feudal system, an unfair structure in which people paid money to kings and lords and worked in exchange for protection, the Black Death, a deadly disease that killed nearly half the population, and numerous poll taxes levied to fund wars with France and other foreign enemies. All of these factors caused distress and anger among the peasants.
However, there were also additional factors considered short-term or triggering causes, such as Wat Tyler, a rebel leader who was disciplined and organised the revolt, John Ball, a priest who urged the peasants to stand up against the system, and Thomas Bampton, a poll tax collector who used harsh tactics, including violence and sexual misconduct, to enforce taxes. The main cause remains a topic of debate among historians, but we believe the Black Death was a key factor, as it drastically changed the way peasants lived. When the Black Death arrived in Britain, it wiped out half of the working population. This led to peasants taking on more labour over larger areas, which in turn prompted them to demand higher wages. In other words, they sought greater control over their lives or more power. We have observed many striking parallels between the Peasants' Revolt and the suffrage movement, both of which we studied in depth. In both instances, individuals were compelled to rise up due to the profound inequities they endured, feeling utterly disenfranchised and powerless over their own lives. In each case, those in positions of power sought to resist change, while the movements themselves became increasingly militant, confrontational, and at times violent in their struggle against the forces of oppression. The suffragette movement, which emerged in 1903, was the culmination of over 3 decades of peaceful campaigning by suffragists who had made little progress in securing women's rights. Despite some legal advancements, such as the right to divorce and own property, women were still denied the fundamental right to vote, excluded from political discourse, and subjected to systemic inequality in comparison to men.
A pivotal figure in this movement was Emmeline Pankhurst, who, alongside her daughters, founded the Women's Social and Political Union, WSPU. Through studying her leadership, we gained insight into Emmeline's unyielding determination for women to attain equal rights to men. She galvanized women into action, encouraging them to employ unprecedented methods of protest. Their campaign was fraught with adversity, and the suffragettes were frequently met with disdain and hostility by society. Many suffragettes endured brutal force-feeding during their imprisonments, an excruciating practice designed to break their resolve during hunger strikes. This torturous treatment underscored the extent of the state's effort to suppress their voices. The connection to power is clear, as this movement demonstrates how, through solidarity and resilience, women were able to disrupt the status quo despite the oppressive forces against them. The suffragettes fought relentlessly for their right to shape the political landscape and secure greater autonomy in their lives. Their tenacity ultimately led to transformative societal change, granting women increased control over both their personal and public spheres, as well as a profound shift in the balance of power in their country.
So you can see, where there is instability in the system, where there is imbalance, this makes it more likely that change will happen. In the first act of the Scottish play, we saw the balance shift, and now we will see the deadly events that are a consequence of this imbalance.
As Macbeth makes his way towards the king's bedchamber, he encounters Banquo with his son. Banquo has been in a bit of sleep and explains to Macbeth that he has been dreaming of the witches. After arranging to meet again in order to discuss the matter, Banquo declares his loyalty to the king and bids goodnight to Macbeth. He envisions a bloody dagger indicating him to King Duncan. The bell he then hears invites him to kill the king. Could this be his malicious thoughts taking over, or could this be something supernatural?
This is a dagger which I see before me, the handle towards my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not, face and vision sensible? To feeling, as to sight, a dagger of the mind, a false creation, proceeding from the heat of breast brain, I see thee still. And on thy blade, dudgeon, gouts of blood, which was not so before, thou sure, firm set earth. Hear not my steps, which they walk for fear, and thy very stones prate of my whereabouts. Whilst I fret, he lives. I go, and this is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is an knell. I summons thee to heaven, to hell. Having drugged the guards of King Duncan's chamber, Lady Macbeth now meets her husband as she emerges from the king's room. In this scene, Macbeth's conscience is clearly disturbed by what he has done, and once more his wife criticises his lack of firmness. The success of their plot is also in jeopardy because Macbeth has also brought the daggers with him. Just before King Duncan's body is discovered, Lennox tells Macbeth about the violent storm that occurred outside the castle on the night of the king's murder. Powerful winds sound like screams of terror. Lennox believes the storm is something supernatural, foreshadowing something terrible.
I have done the deed. Dost thou not hear a noise?
I heard the owls scream and the crickets cry. Did you not speak?
When?
Now.
As I descend?
Aye.
Hark! Who lies in the second chamber?
Donalbain.
This is a sorry
A
sight.
foolish thought to say sorry sight.
The night has been unruly, or as I've heard. The chimneys were blown down, as I've been told. The lamenting sleep in the air. Hear the scream of death. I'm prophesying with accents terrible of dire combustion and confused events. New hatched to the woeful time, the obscure bird clamoured the live all night. Some say the earth was feverous and did shake.
On hearing the news that King Duncan had been murdered, his body was covered by Macduff. The assembled thanes of Scotland resolved to avenge the act of treason. King Duncan's sons, Malcolm and Donalbain, thinking themselves open to the charge of murdering their father, planned to flee to England and Ireland. Macbeth is named king. In this scene, Banquo was an honourable and trustworthy man. He's suspicious of the way Macbeth has acquired the crown. He realises that he will stop at nothing to quench his burning ambition to see the witch's prophecies fulfilled. Meanwhile, Macbeth has a misplaced concern regarding Banquo's interest in the witches. Macbeth is jealous that the witches in Banquo as far as the line of kings. Banquo is Macbeth's greatest threat to his reign as king.
Thou hast it now, King, Cawdor, Glamis, all as the wayward woman promised. And I place most foully fought, yet it was said I should stand in thy prosperity, and that myself should be the root and father of many kings. As come true from them, as upon thee, Macbeth, thy speeches shine, and I must stand upon my verities, upon my oracles as well. But set me up in hope, but hush, no more.
Our fears of Banquo stick deep, and in his royalty of nature reigns that which will be feared. There is none but he whose being I do fear. He tried the sisters when they first put the name of king upon me, and bade them speak to him. Then prophet-like he hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown, and a barren sceptre in my grip. No son of mine succeeded.
Lady Macbeth is concerned about Macbeth's misery. She advises him to not think about on past deeds, saying what is done, and Macbeth is tormented by terrible dreams. Macbeth reveals his plan and murder Banquo and his son Fleance to Lady Macbeth. Macbeth orders 2 murderers to attack Banquo and Fleance. The job is left half done because the murderers' lantern is accidentally extinguished. Although Banquo is killed, Fleance escapes. Macbeth says that only one of the murderers has blood on their face. Macbeth is glad that Banquo is killed, but is disappointed that Fleance is still alive. Macbeth doesn't worry too much about Fleance's escape because Fleance is so young. Macbeth doesn't think that he will be a threat. In the scene, Macbeth and his wife, Lady Macbeth, welcome the Thanes of Scotland and Lords for a banquet to celebrate him becoming king. Macbeth is once again a victim of a guilty illusion and says that the ghost of Banquo at the banquet and behaves very strangely to the lords and thanes. Lady Macbeth comes to his help after distracting the guests and diffusing the situation with Macbeth using immediate agency and control.
My royal lord, did you not give the cheer?
So remember it, sir. Now good digestion, your own appetite, and health on both.
May it please your highness, sit.
Here had we now our country's honour roofed, where the great person of our Banquo present.
His absence, sir, lays blame upon his promise.
The table's full.
Yeah, is it places for you, sir?
Where?
Yeah, my good lords, what is that moves your highness?
Which of you have done this?
What, my good lord?
Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me.
Gentlemen, rise, his highness is not well.
Sit, worthy friends, my lord is often thus and he been from his youth. Pray ye keep still, are you man?
Aye, in a bold one, not delicate and that which may appall the devil.
All proper stuff, this is the very pagan of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger which you said led you to Duncan. Why do you make such faces when all is done? You look but on a stool.
Prithee, see there, behold, look, lo. If I stand here, I saw him.
Fie for shame, my worthy lord. Your noble friends do lack you.
I do forget, do not muse at me, my most worthy friends. I have a strange affair me which is nothing. 'Tis those that know me, come, love and health to all.
Our trees and our pledge.
Avaunt and quit my sight, let the earth hide thee.
Building on our knowledge of Newton's laws and forces, the idea that differences in systems cause change to happen also helps us explain how electric circuits work. We began by studying the structure of the atom, which has a central nucleus made of positively charged protons and neutral neutrons. Orbiting this nucleus are negatively charged electrons, and it is these electrons that are important in explaining electricity. When electrons are transferred between atoms, this causes them to become charged ions. Once again, we see that imbalance causes change to happen. Charges can suddenly jump to other atoms once they get the opportunity to do so, causing the static shock.
Imagine you're at the top of a slide in a playground. You have lots of energy up there, but you need a way to get down. The difference between the height and the top, between the top and the bottom makes you move. Electricity works in a similar way. In a circuit, we need a difference to make electricity flow. The difference is called potential difference or voltage, measured in volts. It's like being at the top of the slide. There's more energy at one point than another. A battery creates this difference. It has a positive side and a negative side. Electrons, tiny charged particles, move from negative side to positive side, just like sliding down.
Once there's a difference in voltage, current with the movement of electrons starts flowing through a circuit like water flowing in a pipe. If there's no voltage difference, the electrons don't move, just like if a slide were flat, you wouldn't go anywhere. The bigger the voltage, the stronger the push and the more current flows. But what if there's something slowing the flow? That's resistance, measured in ohms. It's like a narrow slide or a rough surface, making it hard to go down. Thin wires or small bulbs have more resistance, slowing down the electrons. Thick wires or stronger batteries reduce resistance, letting more electricity flow.
When electrons move, they transfer energy, lighting a bulb, making a buzzer sound, a spin in a motor. If we change the voltage or resistance, the amount of electricity flowing changes, affecting how bright, loud or fast things work in the circuit. So, difference in voltage drives change in a circuit, just like height difference makes you slide down. In order to calculate the power of a component of a circuit, we can multiply the current in amps by the potential difference in volts. This is just another way to work out how much energy is transferred over time, as how you described earlier.
We also learned how magnetism, movement and electricity are connected. Electromagnets, which are made of an iron core with wire coiled around attached to a battery, can be switched on and off. If we combine the movement from forces in the world around us with a magnetic field, then we can generate electricity.
The earthquake that struck Turkey in Syria was caused by the movement of tectonic plates beneath the Earth's surface. Turkey is located on the boundary of two major plates, the Eurasian plate and the Arabian plate. These plates are constantly moving, and when they slide past each other or collide, it can create massive pressure that eventually results in earthquakes. In this case, the shifting of these plates or faults led to violent tremors that caused widespread destruction. The physical geography of the region makes it especially vulnerable to such natural disasters, but it also shows how nature's forces can shape the world around us. The earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria was a powerful reminder of how unpredictable nature can be. It caused widespread destruction, leaving thousands of people without homes and taking many lives. The impact wasn't just physical, it deeply affected families, communities, and entire countries. But in the face of this tragedy, we saw incredible strength. People came together to help each other, provide rescue efforts, supplies, and emotional support. This event teaches us how important it is to be prepared, show kindness, and support those in need, especially when disaster strikes.
Japan is located in northeast of Asia, nestled between the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Japan. We want to talk about an earthquake in Japan that was far more powerful than the one in Turkey, but with a much lower death toll. Japan is considered as a HIC, high-income country, which makes it easy to coordinate with rescue teams. As a result, the earthquake caused fewer deaths, less destruction to buildings, and fewer injuries, even with the devastating tsunami that followed after. The Japanese earthquake struck on March 11, 2011 at 2:46 p.m, so most people were awake when it happened. It was caused by a rupture in the subduction zone related to the Japan Trench, which separates the Eurasian plate from the Pacific plate, which was subducting beneath it. Similar to the earthquake in Turkey, primary effects include significant structural damage. Thousands of buildings, roads and bridges and railways were either destroyed or damaged. Around 300 people were impacted, with 11 hospitals completely destroyed. About 4.4 million households in northeastern Japan were left without electricity due to blackouts. The earthquake and tsunami led to around 20,000 deaths. However, Japan was able to recover quickly because it is a HIC with well-repaired infrastructures and resources.
A tsunami alert was issued and a 250-mile stretch of coastline dropped by 0.6 metres, allowing the tsunami to travel much further inland. This shows the immense power of the earthquake, as so much land shifted in just minutes. Additionally, there was a nuclear disaster. The damage caused by the earthquake led to the meltdown of 3 nuclear reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. The 2011 Japan earthquake demonstrates that power is not only the force of nature, but also the ability to respond, adapt and migrate its effects through resources, resilience and organisation. So now, let us go from the power of the natural world to the power of the supernatural world, and let us follow Macbeth into his second meeting with the witches. In this scene, Macbeth returns to the witches and boldly demands to be shown a series of apparitions that tell his future. The first apparition warns Macbeth of bloody revenge at the hands of Macduff. The second apparition comforts Macbeth with the news that he cannot be killed by any man or woman born. The third apparition promises that Macbeth cannot lose in battle until Burning Wood physically moves towards his stronghold at Dunsinane. Encouraged by the news of such impossibilities, Macbeth asks if Banquo's descendants will have a reign. The witches advise against his question, but he demands that they will answer.
Double toil and trouble, fire burning, cauldron bubble. pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. Open locks, whoever knocks.
How now, you secret black and midnight hags?
Speak. Demand. Will answer.
Call them, let me see them.
Macbeth, 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 beware Macduff, bear the fane of Fife. Dismiss me.
Macbeth, 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 left to scorn the cruel man, and none of them are born.
Then live Macduff, what need I fear of thee?
Macbeth shall never vanquish, be until great Birnam Wood to high dust green hill shall come against him.
That will never be. Who can impress the forest, bid the tree, unfix his earthbound root?
Seek to know no more.
I will be satisfied. Deny me this, and an eternal curse fall on you. Let me know.
Show his eyes and grieve his heart. Come like shadows, so depart.
Thou art too like the spirit of Banquo. Down. What is this so?
Aye, sir, all this is so. Come, sisters, we cheer up his sprites and show the best of our delight.
Deeply suspicious about the murders of King Duncan and the right valiant Banquo, Macduff goes to England to seek help from Malcolm to overthrow Macbeth for revenge. In England, Macduff tells Malcolm of how Scotland is suffering under the tyrant Macbeth. Malcolm is ready with 10,000 men to invade Scotland. They march boastfully to Macbeth. The Thanes discuss how the English forces are approaching, led by Malcolm and Macduff. Macbeth is in Dunsinane, but his men are rising up against him, some calling them mad. The group begin their march towards Birnam Wood.
The Scottish lords gather with Malcolm Macduff and their army. They cut down boughs of the trees in Birnam Wood to use as camouflage. In this scene, Macbeth angrily dismisses those who bring him reports of attack. He reassures himself that he cannot taint with fear because of the witch's prophecies, but he calls for his armour to be brought to him. Malcolm's army has arrived at the castle. Macduff confronts the hellhound Macbeth and they fight. When Macbeth claims he cannot be defeated because he has a charmed life, Macduff reveals that he was from his mother's womb, untimely raped, therefore was not born of woman. The witch's prophecy comes true as Macduff kills Macbeth. Malcolm is concerned about the safety of Macduff.
I'll fight till for my bones my flesh be hacked. Give me mine armour, I'll put it on. Send out more horses, scare the country round. Hang those that talk of fear, give me mine armour. Come, put mine armour on. Give me my staff, Satan, send out. Doctor, the Thanes fly from me. Pulled off, I say. Bring it after me. I will not be afraid of death and bane till Birnam Forest come to Dunsinane. Why should I play the Roman fool and die on mine own sword?
Turn, hellhound, turn!
Of one alas, I've avoided thee, but get thee back. My soul is too much charged with blood of thine already.
I have no words. My voice is in my sword. Thou bloody villain, and the terms can give thee out.
I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born.
Spare thy charm, and let angel has served. Tell thee Macduff was from mother's womb, untimely ripped.
I would the friends we missed were safe arrived.
Some must go off, and yet by these I say, so great a day is this cheaply bought.
Macduff is missing, and your noble son.
Yes, your son is Peter Soldiers dead.
Then he is dead.
Aye, and brought off the field.
He's worth more sorrow than I spent for him.
All hail King, for so thou art. Behold where stands the upsur's cursed head. The time is free. I see thee compassed with thy kingdom's pearl. I speak their salutations in my mind, whose voices I desire aloud with mine. All hail the King of Scotland.
All hail King of Scotland.
Ireland!
In Macbeth, we could argue that the witches hold significant power, as they who first delivered the prophecy to Macbeth, setting the events of the play into motion. Their influence, however, is not easily controlled or trusted, as they represent the supernatural. Like lingering ghosts, they cast an enduring presence throughout the play, the characters' actions being swayed by the witches' cryptic words. Lady Macbeth, in contrast to other women of the time, present a striking deviation from the norm. While Elizabethan society viewed women as fragile, dependent beings who required the protection of their strong masculine husbands, Lady Macbeth emerged as an assertive figure capable of manipulation and wielding power over a seemingly weaker husband. In Macbeth, the power and ambition are intricately entwined. Both Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, intoxicated by the allure of absolute power, take drastic measures to fulfill their royal ambitions. However, the play suggests that power, once obtained, is corrupting force that ultimately leads to destruction.
In art, we looked at work that embodied power and demanded change. Examining the artwork of Barbara Kruger, we investigated how art can be used to pose powerful questions and make impactful commentary on injustice in society. In art, we developed our design skills through work with the Shipley Art Gallery and the Victoria and Albert Museum. We embarked on a project to enhance our local high street through designing community-minded projects based on recycled materials. Though expert workshops at both the Shipley and the V&A, we explored who has the power in local communities and the power of materials. This gave us a deeper understanding of the nature of design, that every item in the modern world has undergone a design process and that good design can be used to solve important world problems.
In the Scottish play, we have seen that it could be argued that the witches have the power in the play because they were the ones who told Macbeth the prophecy in the very beginning. The impact of the witches' power in the play is that they are feared and cannot be trusted or controlled, as they are the supernatural. Like ghosts, they haunt the rest of the play because people act upon their words throughout. In science, we have seen that imbalance is what drives change, in much the same way that characters' actions in the Scottish play are driven by their desire to reduce the difference between the power they hold and the power of others.
We focused on Lady Macbeth in the play as she is different to other women in her time. Although Elizabethan women were seen as weak individuals who needed protection from their husbands who were seen as strong and masculine, Lady Macbeth was seen as a strong individual who could protect herself, manipulate, and have power over her weaker husband. Many would argue that it's Lady Macbeth who holds the most power, and she is responsible for the death of Duncan because she was the one who convinced Macbeth to commit regicide, which means to kill their own king. However, in the end, this brings about her downfall into insanity as she can no longer handle the guilt and ends it all. In Macbeth, power is linked to ambition because Macbeth and Lady Macbeth let the thought of absolute power go to their head, taking the most drastic action to achieve their ambitions and becoming royalty. Power, it seems, can be something that corrupts.
In conclusion, power is multifaceted. It can be found in the actions of a single individual, the strength of a movement, or the resilience of a community coming together for a common cause. Throughout our discussion, we've explored the power displayed in Macbeth, whose ambition ultimately led to his downfall. The peasant revolt, where collective action challenged the entrenched power structures. We've seen the suffragette movement, where the courage of many women changed the course of history. And the devastation of natural disasters, like the earthquakes in Turkey,
and Japan, reminding us of the power of nature and the human spirit to rebuild. We've also reflected on Newton's laws, which explain the power that governs our physical world. But perhaps the most profound form of power lies in the strength of community, the power of people working together in crews, as we do at XP, building not just physical foundations, but emotional and social ones too. We hope that evenings like this remind you of the power of working together. Let's remember that the most enduring power we have is the ability to come together, to lift each other up, and build a stronger future.
Thank you very much for watching our performance. I just want to say one thing. There are a couple of people who couldn't unfortunately be here tonight, so we had some students step into roles extremely last minute. I believe that was Alina, I believe that was Dylan, and Lucy, you've also done that for us as well, so I just wanted to say an extra big thank you for really showing what the power of
So, our year 8, you know, about the beginning of the year, we were going to stand up and perform Macbeth in a real theatre, as actors do. Yet again, they've stepped up and phenomenally well. So this expedition in particular, I think you've been to London and back, yes? We've got an exhibition coming at the end of the year in the Shipley Art Gallery of their work there. What else have you done? You've been to the theatre. You've seen Champions, you've worked with professional actors as well. I have to say, what a phenomenal piece of work. Phenomenal. So, yet again, the bar's been raised in year 8 step up. I couldn't be prouder, but I also have to congratulate all the team of staff at XP Gateshead who make this happen. I feel quite emotional, as I always do, when I look at the power of what people can achieve together. Stunning.